Now, ever since the Walt Disney Company decided to cancel their UK premiere for Snow White 2025 and even dial back on their US premiere, that was the first major red flag, the first signal that things were really going wrong for Bob Iger, the Disney board of directors, and even the creatives behind this movie that is going to be an epic failure, not just for Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, but also for director Mark Webb, for writer Greta Gerwig, and everyone else involved in this actual story, and that's exactly what's happening as we speak. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing is for certain is that we know that Rachel Zegler is still on that damage control train for this movie. She will say whatever she has to say to really prop up this movie. We know that Bob Iger is trying to defend this thing as much as possible, like no tomorrow. And that's exactly what Disney's trying to do as a whole. They are trying to really just keep this thing intact. They want to get this thing done and over with and put it in the rearview mirror as fast as possible to really focus on their other upcoming projects. But what's interesting here has a lot more to do with Rachel Zegler's career as an actress and exactly what's going on within the Hollywood bubble, within the film industry, as more and more studios are beginning to wake up about everything of what's going on over at the Walt Disney Company and how they actually handled the whole Rachel Zegler situation, and it's really backfiring on Rachel's career as an actress and really trying to land all these different roles, whether it's voiceover work or getting live action roles with different studios. Well, the whole blacklisting situation recently got worse within the film industry for Rachel Zegler. Let's jump into this, shall we? Now, what's interesting about all of this moving ahead is that with the Walt Disney Company now in panic mode over their newest film, Snow White, featuring Rachel Zegler, one major development going on now involves more to do with Rachel Zegler's career as an actress, where she was recently blacklisted by multiple studios within the film industry after both her political comments and the drama within Disney. It turns out that after multiple studios remained on the fence of ditching Zegler altogether, have finally made their decision where Zegler was supposed to hold a massive role for a new upcoming horror film with Blumhouse Productions. Now, this studio recently decided to blacklist Zegler from ever getting involved in a project and getting involved in project conversations or negotiations, and how she is now officially an actress that is never to be considered for hire for any of their projects over at Blumhouse moving forward after learning about the Disney drama and how it forced Disney to cancel and dial back on their premiere for Snow White. To make matters worse for Zegler, even a major Hollywood studio like Warner Brothers and its CEO David Zaslav decided to call it quits with Rachel Zegler finally, after months and months of remaining on the fence about that decision and that call. Zaslav decided to actually no longer support Rachel Zegler or any actor or actress that gets way too involved in politics to become a part of their films any longer, and Zegler also was blacklisted from WB, regardless of her connections with the studio beforehand. Now, Zaslav also did this to actors like George Clooney and Robert De Niro after they created so much backlash for getting involved in politics and getting engaged in political arguments and campaigns. Now, guys, let me just say one thing about that. That is very much true that some of these studios, not all within Hollywood, however, are beginning to actually show signs of the slow turn of the tide, right? Now, Zegler, however, is already reportedly disgusted by the developments of these studios and the measures that they are taking to call it quits with Rachel Zegler. The main reason and the deal breaker for some of these studios is that after Disney decided to fire Zegler from some of their projects like Toy Story 5, Pirates of the Caribbean, and every single project that she was associated with, both WB and Blumhouse knew it would only be a very risky decision and a call to bring Rachel Zegler into their projects moving ahead. What's even worse for Zegler's acting career now is that even studios like A24, which is an independent-driven company, is now considering of ditching Rachel Zegler from taking part in any of their future projects after Y2K bombed at the box office. Now, you guys may recall that she was in a movie called Y2K by A24. Did not work out for her as well. In fact, almost every single movie that she's been involved in, whether it was because of her or not, regardless, almost every single movie that she's been involved in has been a box office failure, a box office bomb, a flop, whatever have you, and it really is not good on her resume. Now, the fact that you have studios out there like Warner Brothers and Blumhouse that are finally deciding on this overall decision of blacklisting Rachel Zegler, officially wanting nothing to do with her, either ever again or to begin with, it goes to show you that the Hollywood bubble is going to do whatever it has to do to survive at this point. When it comes to the studios out there, whether it's for film or television, doesn't matter. You're seeing this very slow turn of the tide by some, like I said, but not all, of these studios that are desperate to do anything possible to actually remain successful when it comes to their movies or television programs. Now again, we know that Rachel Zegler is also very deeply offended by these new developments by both WB and Blumhouse for obvious reasons. We already know that she gets easily offended over things like that. And this is no different than what happened between herself and Disney. We already know that initially they wanted to create a series of Snow White movies, kind of similar to what they're trying to do with The Lion King, where they want to create more movies catered to that overall story. They wanted to do the same exact thing with Snow White. That ended up not working months ago because, well, the backlash just was way too large, and her overall damaging effect on Disney was just that, irreversible. Now again, moving onwards here, already Zegler is looking to find a different career path beyond acting, such as singing or engaging in the music industry, as more and more roles for her are falling like dominoes. The entire collapse of Rachel's career right now is just the beginning and will likely worsen after the release of Snow White. Now with Blumhouse and WB now officially done with Zegler, after blacklisting her, more studios are expected to join that list, since last year many studios were holding a tentative decision of blacklisting Zegler from their studio until Snow White released. This is already pushing Rachel into a scenario where she is willing to create some form of a legal case with these studios like WB and Blumhouse Productions. And again, like I've said before in the past, Rachel Zegler is going to do whatever she has to do to prop up this movie, to make it seem like it's going to be one of the biggest, masterpieces out there of all. And it's really not going to be anything like that. We already know that everything associated with this movie has been a disaster, whether it's the test screening, whether it's the drama between both Rachel and Gal, or the overall reshoots that were catered to the movie. 3 rounds of reshoots are going to make this movie come across very sloppy and very out of touch, unorganized, and that's exactly why this movie, I think, continuity-wise, is going to be out of place in certain segments of Acts 1 through 3. Now again, this is really interesting because we already know that already the marketing campaign, they are already beginning to dial back on that. Disney's already beginning to actually take a major step back on their marketing for Snow White 2025. Just days before the release of this thing on the 21st. That is another major red flag, another telltale sign that Bob Iger and the Disney board of directors have literally just no confidence in this movie. They have no trust in this thing performing well, anywhere near close to their most successful projects. But overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about the whole Hollywood situation and how they are beginning to view Rachel Zegler and everything else in between. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.